You know someone who did this. Or maybe you are someone who did this. Everything seemed fine, or close enough to fine. And then one day, the messages stopped. The calls went unanswered. The social media went quiet or disappeared entirely. No fight, no warning, no explanation you could have seen coming. They just withdrew. Completely. And no amount of reaching out brought them back. Or you're on the other side of this. Maybe you've been the one who went quiet. Not because you stopped caring, but because something inside you decided, without asking your permission, that the only safe move was to disappear. What makes this so confusing to everyone around it is that it doesn't look like pain. It looks like coldness. It looks like rejection. From the outside, it looks like the person simply stopped caring about the people they once claimed to love. But that reading is almost always wrong. The psychology underneath this behavior is not indifference. It is something far more specific and far more painful than that. And once you understand the mechanism, the behavior stops looking like abandonment and starts looking like what it actually is: a nervous system doing exactly what it was trained to do. I'm Dr. Evan Cole. This channel is about the neuroscience underneath human behavior, the mechanism-level explanation for why people do what they do, not what we assume about them from the outside. If this is your first time here, the archive is worth your time. Today, we're going into the psychology of people who cut everyone off. Let's be precise about what we're actually talking about. Cutting everyone off, what psychologists sometimes call relational shutdown or emotional withdrawal, is not the same as needing space. It is not an introvert recharging after a hard week. It is not someone going through a quiet period. The pattern we're examining today is categorical and complete. The person doesn't pull back partially. They exit, fully, often permanently, often without explanation, and they do it not once, but as a pattern. Sometimes across their entire relational life. Every close friendship, every romantic relationship, every family tie they were supposed to be able to count on. What makes this clinically significant is the mechanism driving it. This is not a conscious choice in the way we usually mean that word. It is a learned protective response, executed by the nervous system. The person who cuts everyone off is not making a calm cost-benefit calculation about who deserves to stay in their life. Their nervous system has reached a threshold, and it has done what it learned to do. To understand why, we need to look at where that threshold was set, and when. The human nervous system has one primary job: keep you alive. Everything else is secondary. When we're very young, before we have language, before we have logic, before we have any framework for what's happening to us, the nervous system is already learning. It is cataloging what is safe and what is dangerous, what brings comfort and what brings pain, and critically, what kinds of situations tend to end badly. For most children, close relationships get coded as safe. The presence of a caregiver means regulation. Connection means relief. Other people are, neurologically speaking, a resource. But for some children who experience unpredictable caregiving, emotional unavailability, or outright harm, something different gets encoded. Closeness itself carries risk. Think of it like a filing cabinet. Every significant emotional experience gets filed, not as a memory exactly, but as a prediction. When X happens, Y tends to follow. The nervous system uses these predictions to generate responses before conscious thought can catch up. For the child whose early attachment was painful, the cabinet fills with a specific kind of file. When I get close to someone, I get hurt. When I need something, it doesn't come. When I let someone matter to me, they leave, or they change, or they fail me. That filing cabinet doesn't disappear when the child grows up. It goes with them, and the predictions it generates shape every relationship they enter as an adult, not by choice, but by design. Attachment research has been studying this for decades. John Bowlby proposed that every human develops an internal working model of relationships, a set of expectations built in early childhood. Children who develop avoidant attachment learn a specific adaptation. They learn to suppress their attachment needs. Not to stop having them, that's not possible, but to stop showing them. This is not willful coldness. It is a learned suppression. The child discovered that expressing need produced either nothing or something painful, so the system learned to contain the need. The adult version is someone who appears self-sufficient, detached, and in control, who seems not to need people, who can end relationships with a completeness that looks like indifference. But underneath the surface, the attachment need is still there. It never left. It was simply driven underground, where it became harder and harder to access, and harder to admit. There is a second mechanism at work. Psychologists use the term window of tolerance to describe the zone in which a person's nervous system can process emotion without shutting down. Inside that window, a person can feel difficult things, conflict, disappointment, and remain present, remain connected, work through it. Outside that window, something different happens. For people with a history of relational trauma, the window of tolerance is often narrow. The regulation system was never built to handle intense interpersonal stress. So when conflict arises or someone gets too close, the nervous system crosses its threshold, and it executes the response it knows. Not because they decided to leave, but because the system decided. Neuroscientist Stephen Porges described this as the dorsal vagal response. When fight and flight aren't available, it defaults to shutdown. Withdrawal so complete, it looks like it never mattered. It mattered. Here is the part that most people who have been cut off never get to know. The people most likely to execute this complete withdrawal are frequently the people who feel the most, not the least, the most. Research on avoidant attachment shows that underneath the surface, there is significant emotional activity. These are not people who don't care. They are people whose caring produced so much pain. The system built the most effective protective architecture it could. The withdrawal is proportional to the investment. You don't build a wall that strong around something that doesn't matter. And here is the cruel irony. The strategy that protected them in childhood is the strategy that produces exactly what they feared most in adulthood. Isolation, loss, abandonment. The question this raises is the one that matters most. Can it change? The honest answer is yes, but not easily, and not through willpower alone. Patterns can be unlearned. Researchers use the term earned secure attachment to describe adults who began with insecure histories and developed secure functioning through corrective experience. This is slow work. First, a therapeutic relationship that is explicitly safe, responsive, and consistent, giving the nervous system the kind of reliable attunement it never received early on. Second, somatic work, body-based interventions that address nervous system dysregulation directly. The shutdown response lives in the body. Talk therapy alone often can't reach it. Third, gradual, deliberate re-exposure to connection. Not forced vulnerability, not demanded openness. Voluntary, incremental trust built where the predicted outcome consistently fails to arrive. The filing cabinet does not empty quickly, but the research is clear. The nervous system retains the capacity for revision across the entire lifespan. The architecture is not permanent, it is learned. If you've been cut off by someone, this is what the neuroscience says. It was almost certainly not about you. Not in the way it felt, like a verdict on your worth. What happened was older than you. The mechanism was built long before you appeared. You didn't create it, and you could not have prevented it by being better, or more patient, or more careful. And if you are someone who has done this, who has gone quiet, who has exited relationships you didn't fully want to leave, you are not cold. You are not broken. You are not incapable of love. You are someone whose nervous system learned that exit was the only safe move, and that system has been doing its job ever since. Understanding the mechanism is where freedom begins. If the research we cover here is useful to you, the archive has more than 20 episodes going into the neuroscience behind patterns like this. Subscribe so you don't miss what's coming. We'll see you in the next one.